Hey everybody, welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David and I'm your host. Today we want to talk about some of our fallen heroes in 2018 in football in this country. I have a star-studded, as usual, panel that would help me bring this to you. First, let me take time to introduce them. I've got to my left, Alvin Henderson. Alvin, welcome.
Glad to be here, Steve, and to talk a little bit about some of the people who made great contributions to football in Trinidad and Tobago.
And next to Alvin is Larry Joseph. Larry, welcome to the set, bud.
Thanks again, Steve, for the invite. Glad to be here.
And a special guest, a special guy here, Clayton Morris. Clayton, welcome.
Thank you, George. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right. And George is going to be here in a little bit. Okay, guys, let's talk about some of the fallen heroes. Let me give you this. I've got 7 names, 7 guys, and there might be some I'm missing, but we will pick them up as we go along. I'm going to call all the names first, and then we're going to take one at a time and talk about it, right? I've got Mike McCormy, Oliver Camps, Lawrence Rondon, Leon Carpet, Mohamed Issa, Raymond Roberts, and Squeaky Hines. And some of us mightn't be able to say much about Squeaky, but let's start with Squeaky first, because that's a guy we know the least about, right? What have you heard about Squeaky and how and what you think? What did you think about him and what you heard?
Well, since I'm the oldest on the panel here, and Squeaky was the oldest of that group, and because Squeaky in some form or fashion followed a little path that I followed, I would like to talk about Squeaky. First of all, Squeaky was an excellent forward. Not big in stature. In fact, I think he was even smaller than I was in stature when he was playing. He was called the Prince of Forwards and was outstanding in the 50s, in the 1950s, a long time ago, as a Trinidad forward. Later on, Squeaky went to the United States after working a while in Trinidad, went to the United States and ended up trying to further his academic qualifications. He ended up at Howard University. And that's how I found out more about him, because 10 years later, I ended up at the same school. And I heard a lot about Squeaky because Squeaky was outstanding at Howard University, causing them at that time to win a small college national championship. Some of the other players on the team at that time were players like Jez Alexis, who went to presentation in San Fernando. But Squeaky was outstanding both at football and at hockey, and eventually ended up playing hockey for the U.S. national team. But he was an outstanding player before he left Trinidad and Tobago, played with several of the top players in the 50s in Trinidad and Tobago, then went to the States and made a name for himself both at hockey and football.
Larry, I heard, I'm saying for me, I heard he was like a real special forward. He was real good and could be the best thing that ever came to this country. Have you heard anything in?
Well, obviously, he was before my time, so all that I've heard is what I have read. And I can't remember reading any article that spoke any different from what the doc and you have been saying. The articles that I've read about Squeaky Hines were very glowing in their tribute to him, and the fact that he was so outstanding. It seemed as if in his time he was the one that was the center of attraction whenever he took the field, in that his performance was so good that he always left some lasting memories with the spectators and even with the opponents. But obviously I would only have those written articles about Squeaky. I've not really sat with much older folks to hear, like, let's say, somebody like the doc to talk about him on much one-on-ones.
Yeah, well,
so I am just talking from articles I've read.
The Malvern people will never forgive me if I didn't mention that he was a Malvern player, a Malvernite, and they honored him. I remember they honored him not too long ago. I think it might have been his 80th birthday or whatnot. Malvern honored him at that time. Malvern being one of the top clubs in the country for at least 3 or 4 decades, and one of the top clubs in the 60s, in the time that I was playing football at school, at college as well. But Squeaky Hines, as I said, one of the things that people would say about him is that his ability, despite his small stature, his ability and timing at kicking the ball and scoring goals, and also his ability to create space for himself were some of the things that people who had seen a lot of him in the heyday. I did not see him in his early days, because remember, he was playing for Trinidad and Tobago in the early 50s, early to mid 50s. That time, I myself was too young enough to see him at that time, but the memories that people told me about Squeaky Hines at that age, I saw him as an older player playing in the States and whatnot, but he was past his best by that time.
Unfortunately, I haven't seen him play, but I heard a lot about him. And so, Clayton, you haven't seen him play either.
No, definitely. But
So,
I had the opportunity, as one of the things that I cherish, Steve, is on the trip with you guys in Germany 2006. Because there is where we had the opportunity to sit with you guys and hear about your past. Now, I can't specifically remember everything, but one of the things I know they said about Squeaky Hines, as Doc just mentioned, his small in stature, but very
big in heart.
Speed,
Yeah.
and score goals. And one of the things I gather, I guess, from you guys, is the passion that you all had for the sport, right? And I had the opportunity to meet him in a couple of the awards function. So I took the opportunity to introduce myself to him.
Right.
But that is all I could remember about him at this point in time.
Yeah, well, and you got a lot more than I did, because I never really sit down and had a word with Squeaky either. I've only heard about Squeaky and Franco Harris and all of those. Not Franco Harris, Franco. What Franco? Carlton Franco and all these guys, but I never seen them. But I know he did a lot for this country as far as football is concerned, and we appreciate you, Squeaky, and we're gonna miss you, guy. Rest in peace. Why don't we talk about a younger person that we all know? How about Mike McComey? What do you have to say about Mike? Larry, you look like you want to start about Mike.
Well, Mike and I were opponents for most of our playing careers, Mike was the goalkeeper I first met him when he was saving for Alcons, right? And he was this brash goalkeeper, very confident. Some people may say overconfident. He wasn't short on that, Mike and I had an encounter in a game. I remember we played, this is Trintok, we played Alcons in a FA final in Arima. Skip, I don't know if you remember. I can't remember the year.
I've seen it, you're talking, and
right? And I remember going and look at Alcons play their semi-final in Arima. And Mike had this tendency of always standing on top of his 18-yard box and belting out orders to his defenders and his players, because he was vociferous for the whole game. And I took note of that. So they got to the final and we played them at that same venue a few days later. And during the game in the first half, I remember pinching a ball from Anton Cornel's feet from about 35 yards away from goal. And as I picked it up, I knew Mike was on his 18 yards. And I, without raising my head, because it's something I do all the time, I just chipped it or lobbed it more so. And Mike and the ball tossing up in the net, we were 1-up. We eventually won that game. And I remember Alvin Cornel actually in the Colleges League All-Star game calling me over and say, just as Mike died, about a few days after, he said, boy, we now talking about you and that goal you scored, Mike. So even Alvin and all remember that particular thing.
Right.
So, you know, Mike was one of those guys that was not short on confidence, so that I never played with him, only against him. You know, he was the kind of guy who always felt that he could beat the opponent just by his demeanor. Definitely gone too soon. Mike and I actually played 1 week before his death, Skipper. Yeah. We were down in Moruga in a combined...
November the 17th to be exact.
Yeah, you know, we were down in Moruga in a charity game that was organized, and Mike was the goalkeeper for our team, some ex-nationals. And that's the last time I saw him. When he was leaving from the venue, he said, "Larry, I'll see you, hope we meet again." And next thing you know, Mike was gone. So that was really hard for me, because of the fact that we had just played together so soon. You know, definitely somebody that is going to be missed, definitely.
And was Mike a national player as well? He made the national team, right?
He saved in the first under-19 national team with Dwight York. He was one of the goalkeepers there. Right. I had the opportunity to coach him and to play with him, but that's in like FET match. Right. He came to Red Devils, and once it's not organized competition under the TNTFA, Mike wanted to be a forward or outfield player. Mm-hmm. And you give him the ball and you leave him. You want to dribble, whatever, you give him that freedom. But what I admire about him is that confidence to do whatever, you know, he feels that is right. Even sometimes it's for the wrong reason. Your team could be punished, but he believes this is what it should be done at this point in time, and he will do it. As Larry said, it's really sad, because I played defense. He was in the goal. And that game on the 17th was really to commemorate the November the 19th, that is last year. And in the goal, some goals scored on him, and you just have to leave, because that is Michael McCormy. Right. On the day, you just have to let things flow, because if you look to rub any salt in the wounds, then you'll make it worse.
Right. So, he might let a few pass.
Right, he let a few pass. And then that was the only goalkeeper on the day, so he didn't have a choice to say, come out and play. So he was confined to the goalpost, and I think he realized that, so he was just in the goalpost. But again, you know, I really cherish the time that we spent together, because a lot of people tell you they had difficulties in dealing with Michael McCormy. I didn't have that.
Right.
I didn't have that. I would talk to him, reach him where he's supposed to be reached, and he would be, you know, hey, JB, this is cool, and that kind of thing. So, and I had the opportunity to attend the funeral, and that too, everything that was said about him, you know, his brothers spoke about him, and exactly what we're saying. Larry talked about all the goalposts. The brother said, he told him, you see that thing, you're out on the 18-yard box, people could score on you. Same thing. But again, everybody loved the confidence that he carried. And I would love to have players like that on my team.
I would just say that a few things about Mike. I first saw Mike as a 15-year-old playing for the national under-15 team. This was long before he had actually gone to a World Cup. He was on Hannibal Najjar's team, and I used to go up quite a few times and look at them. And in fact, we were invited to play against them. And brash is a good word to describe him, because when we were playing against them still, and we still had the ability to play and score. An old boys team with Ian Bain and myself included. We put quite a few goals behind him, and he kept complaining that the ball passed through the side of the net and whatnot. And I had said a few words to him. I said, "Listen, little boy, save what you could save and keep quiet." But I followed his career afterwards. He was outstanding, and bypass. He wasn't the top goalkeeper at under 15 level, but he bypassed Clayton Ince and some of the others to become the outstanding goalkeeper and one of the outstanding goalkeepers of the tournament for the under 19 team that Trinidad went to the World Cup. He was an outstanding goalkeeper. But where I would say that I admired him a lot was Mike McCormy, the coach. Mike McCormy, in my opinion, I go to a lot of Pro League games, I watch a lot of football games, and Mike McCormy showed me when he was coaching, especially when he was coaching Maupau, and to a lesser extent the Maracas team, but especially the Maupau team, when he was coaching them, he showed me that he wanted to be a really innovative coach. And he got a little stint at national level, which didn't last too long. But he wanted to be an innovative coach, and he would try things, unique things that people, others didn't try. For instance, one of the things I saw was Maupau would defend a corner, and sometimes Mike Macomi would put, instead of bringing everybody back, he would bring 3 or 4 men up front at the half line. And the natural thing that coaches would do is if you have 3 or 4 people there, I would put an extra man there. Yeah. So what he did was lessen the numbers in the box. He would lessen the numbers in the box by putting his players in attacking positions and ready to go. And he played with a quick counter-attack system if his goalkeeper was good enough to get that ball quickly. And if you didn't take advantage of that situation, he would take advantage of you. So he was an innovative coach as well.
But Mike played for, I know he coached Joe Public as well.
Yes, he did.
And he played, who did he play for?
Played for Joe Public because I coached him at Joe Public.
Right.
And he played for Alcons, which is Alvin Cornell's team, the academy team.
Okay, so he played club football as well.
Yeah, very high level, very high level.
He was also a tennis player.
Yeah.
Table tennis. And then recently, in fact, the executive of the Tennis Association, he said, he called me and said, Alvin, do you Mike Macomi? I said, yes. He said, this guy is really a top-class table tennis player. And he's helping us and assisting us with the table tennis as well. So he was a table tennis enthusiast and continued to be on the was going to help the executive of the Table Tennis Association.
Right. Okay. All right. So, so right now we need to take a break, but when we come back, I want us to talk about Oliver Camps and what his contribution to football in Trinidad and Tobago, and what he has done for us, and so on and so on. So let's take a break. Viewers, we'll be right back after this short break.
Looking for a safe place for the whole family? Well, now you've found it. We are ACTN The Voice, your family-friendly station. Whether it's current affairs, kids and classic TV, sport and community features, Christian and music programming, plus so much more, ACTN is the station for you. Join us each day for programming that puts morals, values, and family first. We are ACTN The Voice, your family-friendly station.
You're now changing your question.
What I would say, Steve, is this.
My first question was, and roll back that tape.
I made my debut for Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur.
My responsibility was to get the ball and make things happen offensively.
In all the time we've played together, I've always been the decoy.
Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host. Okay, viewers, welcome back. Before the break, guys, we were going to talk about Oliver Camps. But before that, let's introduce one more member of the panel, Narada Wilson. Narada, welcome to the set.
Always a pleasure to be here, and we're in good company today.
Tell the viewers why you're late, bud.
Yeah, I'm late because my granddad, Mr. Stokely Wilson, who was a lecturer in San Fernando Tech for a lot of years, passed away. So we just have some little arrangements to be taken care of. So, you know,
right.
Family's in mourning now, but we're all right.
Yeah, viewers, we wouldn't talk about him, so don't worry about that, right? So we want to talk about Oliver Camps and how special he was to Trinidad and Tobago football, and every single one of us has been under him in one way or the other. So I'd open it up.
Steve, I think you should talk first because you were under him.
You were there first.
Yeah, well, I first met Oliver Camps when we were preparing to go to Haiti in 1973 as a manager. I thought he was a special manager. He did everything that the other managers never did. He was so special. He would even fill the cups of water while to take a break. So when we come off the field, we don't have to line up for water. All the cups will lay out there and everything. I remember that about him. And also, most important, I was playing for Police, and we had a game in the Oval against Malvernites. You know how I hate you guys to beat Police. So I decided I was going to play on that game because I didn't want Malvern to beat us. And we had practice with the national team. Plus, at that time, the national team players was not supposed to play for the clubs. If you play, then you get suspended. You wouldn't be able to play for the national team. So we couldn't go to Haiti. I wouldn't be able to go. I didn't care. I did not care. I just didn't want Malvern to beat us. So I went and I put myself on the list to play, but as a reserve. So I said I would sit on the bench, and if they ever get ahead, I'm coming on, right? So I put myself on because I was the captain of the team. So just before the game started, I see this little short red man walking off in the field. And then he comes straight to me and he says, "Steve, we practicing next door at King George V," which I knew. So why don't you come over, come go with me? I said, but my team is playing. He says, "Come on, we have to go. Let's go now." And he turned his back on me and he walked away. So I went. I followed him out, and of course, he said, "Oh, but after we got there, thank you so much for following me." He said, "I'd feel real stupid if you didn't follow me across." But I followed him, and that was the turning point of my career, because I went to Haiti. I was the leading scorer in the whole tournament. I got contracts offered. I accepted. I turned pro. So to me, he had a great big deal in the crossroads, my crossroads to professionalism. And I really thank him and appreciate him so much for that. And again, there is so much to talk about. I let you guys talk about some of the rest of the things.
Yeah, but you didn't tell us what was the result of the game, Steve?
Huh?
What was the result of the game?
Malvern, we beat them 1-0. As soon as that game was finished, he came. "You guys won." I said, "All right." I ran over to the Oval. Yeah.
Well, since we're talking about Ollie Camps, the manager,
yeah.
I'll give over to Clayton here. Because Clayton had him as his manager for quite a while as well.
I could duplicate some of the things that Steve said about him, you know. Very passionate towards a human being, right? To see another human being develop, not just a footballer. And I saw that within him. You know, he always made sure that the players as comfortable as possible, given the situation, right? I remember one time in the '89 campaign, we had 22 players in the camp. And, you know, everybody chipping in with who want to give vitamin here and what have you. And this company came and, well, he called me, they took out shots with the product and what have you. And as I walking off, I counted and I realized we only had 18. So I went back to him and I said, "Manage, there's only 18 stuff and it's 22 of us." He said, "What?" And he handed back to it. He said, "Come with 22 or we're not receiving it." And that, for me, I think that is somebody that I wanted to model.
Right.
And I think this is what I think. And it's not so much the product, but he think about every player with that interest that they had to feel important and not give this set and the other. And I think that shows me that that is somebody who care about the individual and the bigger picture of the team. And I use that. And the other thing that I gather from that is that respect. Yes, you all may have it and we don't have to pay for it, but at the same time, we're not just going to take it because we want to make sure everybody, you know, goes along. I didn't really have much to say about with respect to the president because I didn't really have much dealing with him. But one incident is when I was coaching the national under-20 team. That is when Rennie Simois and them were here, and they had to leave. I was given the responsibility to handle both the national senior team and the under-20. And that time, as you all remember, like now, we didn't have no money in the football, and he was he was there in the seat. And I remember I met him by Auto Rentals. And I said, Mr. Camps, the team had to travel, so what about the funds? And he was like, he said, I just don't know what to tell you. He said, I know I live with you, we manage the team, but right now he really just see what you could do. Right? See what you could do. And I did what I supposed to do. I called the Minister of Sports, and we got the tickets to get the team to thing. So again, he was that person, honest enough to tell you, I can't do anything, you see what you could do. And these are some of the things that I remember him for, and I cherish those moments.
Right, right.
Well, my dealings with Ollie, I knew Ollie Camps on a personal level for at about the time in the 70s, Steve, that he was with the national team, because we came down from Howard University to play against the All, and Ollie was the manager at the time.
Right.
And we got to meet in social situation. And Ollie was also a member of the Harvard Club, which was right next to St. Mary's. And although Ollie wasn't a great footballer, he was an outstanding member of the Harvard Club, and eventually became its president of the Harvard Club for many, many years. But Ollie was always a very personable, well-liked person by everybody I know he came across. And so it was very unfortunate when we heard the problems that Ollie had to deal with in the later years of his life. Because in the early part of the years, every person, whether it be on your team in 73 or that team in 89, had good dealings with him. And it was unfortunate in the late end of his career, when he became the president, that he had to deal with problems, money problems, where eventually it reached the point where a court case caused them to both resign from the presidency, and also to get into legal arguments where his house was going to be put up for sale. I don't know all the details about that, but it's unfortunate that it had to reach that circumstance because of problems in the TFFA and the TFFF. Personally, he was always an approachable person. You could always talk to him, and he would always come and be able to talk to everybody he has dealt with. It's a little, as I said, it's a little unfortunate that his image was marred by what happened in the last 5-6 years of his life.
Right, right.
Well, almost like most of you guys, the only difference would be my dealings with him was in the later stages of his career in the presidency. Actually, he's the person that, when I was pretty young, maybe 17, 18, very eager to get into this football administration, football agent sort of thing, I started reaching out to him. And to be fair, he was that person that, even being a president, I was emailing him directly, which was a risk that I took. But he did actually respond. And, while everybody else at the time in the office would tell me, he isn't there or whatever, I remember one time I called the office and I said I would like to meet him. And they said he isn't there. And I said, but I just saw his car outside. And, eventually, after calling for a few times, he actually asked them to let me in. And I had my first meeting with him probably at about 17 years of age, sitting down outlining to him that I've read things on FIFA and would like to become an agent in the future or whatever. And he maybe gave me an hour of his time, which was something I respected, something that, very soft-spoken, very eloquent fella, never dismissive at all, at least in my dealings. And so I have to attribute my first interactions with the association being Mr. Oliver Camps being the president at the time, which he was the president for quite some time. And I think right or wrong, when I was leaving to go abroad on scholarship, I did have 3 or 4 months that I played with Harvard. And they did speak highly of him, and I interacted with him on a couple other occasions. So, for me, it's really a gentleman, a very quiet person. Just as Doc said, it was unfortunate that his career was marred with these things later on in life. It was around the time when I met him, but I had my first approach being somebody that was highly respected and very respectful to me as well, even being a young person, that even with the things that came after, it's not what I knew, it's what came up on paper, but my personal interaction was totally different.
Larry,
well,
you had?
my interaction with Ollie was more with him, as the president at the time. You know, during when football was struggling, as Skipper mentioned, financially. I mean, that was our biggest problem. So that you, with any team at that time, and you had either a tour coming up, you know, so you would be anxiously looking towards the tour, and then you would hear the news, there's not enough funds for the team to travel, and of course everybody would look towards the president at that time. And Ollie did always come across as somebody who told you what the situation was. He didn't really try to make too many excuses to make it sound good in our ears. It may not what we wanted to hear at the time, but it was the absolute truth. And you would gather that, okay, there isn't anything more that he could do. he would come across as somebody who would make you think that he had exhausted all avenues to make it happen, and it just is not going to happen, not from a lack of effort on his part. So, you know, he did come across at that time as somebody who had the sport at heart, the players at heart, and wanted to do and to see what's best for the football in the country. It's just during his tenure we really struggled for finances. Really struggled.
Yeah, Clayton.
Yeah, if I could just go back to the last appearance he made with the Strike Squad, was in 2015 when the Strike Squad celebrated the 25th anniversary. Correct. Now, I don't know if you all are aware, but the Strike Squad, we still play.
Right.
We go around the country and we play games in communities or what have you. And once we have an event, I think I would invite him, even when he was as the president. And I remember, well, this activity, we had it advertised, we were on the radio, we were on the TV and what have you. And lo and behold, in the Queen's Park Savannah, on the morning, we saw Mr. Camps coming. But because I know he was bedridden, and Ms. Sanchez, Farida, she said, all he said, he has to be there.
Right.
And it's so well, we had a T-shirt and he put it on. And I think Dexter Francis sent that photo to me when he passed there 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Right? And well, I have that photo on my thing, and I remember that is the kind of determination this individual had. He was sick. She said he was bed, or he not supposed to be here. And he came, I mean, we had to walk the whole savannah. But he just walked, started with, and then he went. So that's the kind of determination, and I would always remember that last moment with him.
All right, yeah, Oliver Camps, rest in peace, bud. Appreciate you so much. So let's talk about Mohamed Issa. Every one of you guys had some kind of dealings with Mohamed Issa. Well, Anthony Christopher, better known as Mohamed Issa, changed his name.
Anthony who?
Anthony Christopher was his right name.
That's news to me.
Yeah, exactly. He went to St. Benedict's College. He didn't play championship football. He played senior grade football. And then, lo and behold, I was playing professional at the time, and I heard that Mohamed Issa is the coach at Trinidad and Tobago. I was so shocked because I was like, but again, you don't have to be a great footballer to be a good coach. And he served our national team in every capacity there is. So let's talk about him for a minute. Who wants to start?
Well, I'll start because, again, being one of the oldest, I never played against Issa, Mohamed Issa, because he played championship football or second 11 football, and I never played second 11. But I knew that Issa was on the second 11 of Benedict's, right, and as Anthony Christopher. And when I came back home for vacation several times, and a number of your teammates had changed their names, I had to find out who was who, because a number of the people who I played with now had Islamic names.
Right.
Salim Mohammed,
Mohammed Salim, Mohammed Ali.
Yes. So I had to get accustomed to who was who. And then Christopher's name came up, and then I realized that he was Mohamed Issa. And so, but Issa, people have to realize that Issa, even though people are saying, but Issa don't know nothing about football, Issa, in my opinion, was one of the best people at selecting what he needed as a coach for a football team. And there are many coaches, especially these days in modern football, where they don't develop the player. They choose what they want and put the player into the team and into the position that they want. Issa was excellent at that. And Issa was excellent at scouting for players.
Right.
People didn't give him the benefit of how his scouting and his eye for looking at a player. Not many people have that eye for looking at a player to fit into a role. Issa had one of the most successful periods in the 80s of coaching youth national teams. And he also had a very successful period in the 90s of coaching the senior national team. If you go back and look at his record, I think it's probably Issa and Kenny Joseph, two local coaches, have the best record in the, other than Ben Hacker, of coaching Trinidad and Tobago football. So Issa, despite all, in my opinion, was a good coach. He brought these two gentlemen with Trinidad with Richard Braffett as well to the heights of club football, in my opinion, in Trinidad and Tobago with the Trinidad team. And I have to say a lot for Issa. He despite all that you may hear, Issa was one of the stalwarts and wanted to do what was best for football on all occasions. And sometimes he subjugated himself a little too much, in my opinion, and he took too much. But he did it all for the good of football. And football was first, and Issa often put himself second.
And we'll continue with Issa, but right now we have to take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue in Issa. Viewers, we'll be right back after the short break.
Looking for a safe place for the whole family? Well, now you found it. We are ACTN The Voice, your family-friendly station. Whether it's current affairs, kids and classic TV, sport and community features, Christian and music programming, plus so much more, ACTN is the station for you. Join us each day for programming that puts morals, values and family first. We are ACTN The Voice, your family-friendly station.
You're now changing your question.
What I would say, Steve, is this.
My first question was, and roll back that tape.
I made my debut for Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur.
My responsibility was to get the ball and make things happen offensively.
You know, all the time we've played together, I've always been the decoy.
Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host. Okay, welcome back, viewers. Guys, before the break, again, we were talking about Issa, Mohamed Issa, and what, you know, what part he played in Trinidad football. And again, Clayton and Larry and Narada, you guys got the last word on that.
Just as Doc mentioned, you know, we have a lot to talk. I mean, we don't have the time to talk, right? But there's two things I want to touch on. As Doc mentioned, you know, giving local players the opportunity, and I think Mohamed Issa was that person to identify the talent and fit it. I mean, I can't talk about him and not mention Mr. Richard Braffett, the manager of that Trinidad team in the time, who was released, who scored players like myself and brought them to Trinidad, and I'm very, you know, I'm grateful for that, you know. But I remember, as the only person from Port of Spain, we in St. Anne's, I drive to Point Forte to train, right? And here it is, Mohamed Issa, the coach, and I would be leaving Point, and he would ask for a lift. Now, I'm glad for the company, because you know, Steve, from St. Anne's to Port of Spain, and you finish train, and then from, I'm in St. Anne's to Point Forte, right. And then you finish train to drive from Point Forte back to thing. You need a little company on the way. So Mohamed would say, hey, give me a lift. No, I'm glad for the company, but from the time we come out at Point, Mohamed is like this. He's fast asleep. So where's the company? right? But he knows exactly where to wake up, and he said, give me 2 minutes, and you know he come out and he go where you go and get, and he come back again. Next 3 minutes, he go on again.
Right.
And I'd say, despite what, this is my coach, I want to make sure I take him to his destination. Sometimes I drop him in Freeport and take him to his destination. But what I got to understand is that he, despite what, and I learned this when I when I did my coaching course, right? The coach, the facilitator mentioned after, you have to be the coach that you never have. And I say to myself, I don't want to be a coach like that, right? Despite what, but I still understand, despite what, the coach will come here on time, carry on his session, and at the end of the day when we go to play, we play like a team, and as Doc mentioned, we got the results, right? So that for me, I would always remember, you know, and cherish those moments with Coach Mohamed Issa.
Okay.
And another thing that I want to say quick is that he's the type of person, he always look for the solution. If he's the person to be that solution, he will do whatever it is to be in that position to help solve the problem.
Larry?
Yeah, well, obviously, as Skipper mentioned, we were the products of the Trintoc era under the leadership of Richard Braffett, who was also passed, and Mohamed Issa. And we enjoyed, as a team and an organization, unprecedented success in those, during that period. Issa being at the helm as the coach. The Doc called it right when he said that Mohamed's strength really was in his being able to find out, point out, pick out, and select the players that he feel could give him the best performance. And he did that successfully with the Trintoc team, graduated to the national team. So not just myself, but Skipper, we knew him both as a club coach and a national coach. We enjoyed our greatest success with Trintoc under him. And his greatest strength really was to be able to get all these superstars to perform on game day. That's not an easy task to do, because remember, we really didn't start from young together. As Skipper said, he came from St. Anne's. I came out of Colleges League. I had just scored the most goal in the Colleges League. I can't remember what year that was. And I got a phone call, somebody named Mr. Braffett, want to see you. He wanted to come and play for Trintoc. And that was my call, just like Skipper got a call. So he assembled all these basically finished products, as we would say, and was able to cause that team to have great success on the field. Not much coaches could do that, right? So I have to say, as a player, under Mohamed Issa, that I was thankful for the opportunity he gave us, right? And we remained friends up until his passing. You know, after our playing days, after my playing days, Mohamed would always pick up the phone and call me if he needed some sort of information or advice, maybe pertaining to South Zone football, and I would be able to also pick up my phone and call him if I needed clarification on something. So we remained really close friends, even after my playing days. So our relationship transcended not just player-coach, and I appreciated the contribution he made into my development in all those areas.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that Trintoc team, the head of that team gone. Issa and Braff.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So
has Petrotrin.
Petrotrin and also Petrotrin gone. Yeah. Let's talk about Leon Carpet. Leon, again, he was a member of the 73 squad that went to Haiti, and good midfielder, very outstanding. I think he ended up captaining the national team for a short while as well, and so on and so on. So let me start with you, Narada. You know anything about Leon?
No, I would actually have to ask you guys the questions, because when I got introduced to him, again, was in the latter days, and he was a bit ill. He had been ailing for some time, and I know all the players, you know, they will talk highly about him from his playing days. So I would have asked you, Steve, you know, what was your interaction with Carpet on the field during the 70s?
Right. I would transfer that to Alvin. Alvin, tell us about Leon, because Alvin knows way more about Leon than I did.
I first met Leon Carpet when we were both trying out for the national under-20 team before I went on my scholarship abroad. Leon and I were on a national under-20 team with Michael Lang as the coach in the late 60s. That's aging myself a bit. But I met Leon then, and we became friends, and we stayed friends throughout the period. When I used to come back on regular basis during the 70s to Trinidad from university, and obviously playing football at that time too. Met Leon then. In the 73 team, let me just put a little note about the 73 team. Leon Carpet actually came on the team when the team was picked already. He played an outstanding game in Skinner Park when the national team played a South team. And Leon had an outstanding game, scored an outstanding goal, and then was drafted on the team because the team was still looking for midfielders. Because actually Ian Bain, who was the midfielder, my teammate up in the States, was actually going to be pressed to come down to play on that team. But there were problems with that, him coming, and Carpet was the one who was outstanding at that time. Leon Carpet became my real friend when I came back in 1980 to live in San Fernando. And I just want to say here, he's been an outstanding friend throughout the period of time that I was in San Fernando. Helped me immensely with my own team, San Fernando Giants. And he was a lifelong friend for me. We were very close. And I miss him dearly, even up to today.
And he was so funny. Leon would joke about everything, man. he was unbelievable. The head of the party. You heard anything about him, Larry? You and
Well, I saw a little bit of him in his latter days with Strikers. Was it Strikers?
Yes,
yeah. And then when I was at presentation, we actually played a couple practice games against Strikers. So that's when I first met him, and I was surprised. He was pretty impressed with me. When after the game, he pulled me aside and he said, "Well, you could really play." And I was like, "I could really play. Use Carpet." You know what I mean? Yeah. So even at that stage of his career, I mean, to me, he exuded confidence. He looked almost like a giant amongst us young budding footballers.
Right.
And I just could imagine when he was younger, the type of impression he would have on the field. Of course, being red, and he stood out between whenever he played. But he didn't stood out only for his color, but he stood out because he was really good. We used to talk about it when after the practice game. Way boy, Carpet real good boy. So that man still playing, boy.
But Larry, at that time they used to call him the last of the red men. But you came afterwards, so he doesn't like the last.
It's true.
But he was very affable. You hear these things about these players, and when you meet, you would believe they would be sort of frontish. But Leon was one of the most easiest person to approach, and he made it easy for you. He didn't wait for you. He came and, he approached me and we started to talk, and immediately realized that, it's not a problem to have a conversation with him.
Right.
And even after my presentation days, whenever we did meet, we would have a little chat and whatever. And the conversations were always very easy, down to earth, and you felt very, very comfortable in his presence, very comfortable.
What about you, Clayton? You
didn't have much, but just as Squeaky Hines, I had the honor in meeting Leon Carpet because, growing up, you hear all these players, Steve David, Leon Carpet, Gally Cummins, and you get the opportunity to meet these guys in the flesh was a big honor for me, and that helped motivate me to the player that I, end up being on the national team and what have you. And, I had the opportunity when he was with United Petrotrin.
Yes,
right.
Yes,
right.
Yes, he was also a coach.
So again, I had the opportunity to meet him and see him demonstrate some of the techniques. So I will cherish those memories also.
Yeah,
it's interesting that the same year that Carpet left this Trinidad Earth, that the Petrotrin name went out of existence as well.
He took it with him.
Yes, he took the Petrotrin name with him.
Yeah, wow.
Rest in peace, Leon. We miss you, guy. See you when we see you. Let's talk about Lawrence Rondon. I know you guys have something you heard about Lawrence Rondon.
You and the dog will be doing that
talking. Of his head, right? Yeah.
The size of his
head.
That's Fred you're talking about.
Fred, yes. They call him Fred. I know why Fred Flintstone.
I only read like Squeaky Hines about Lawrence Rondon, and everything I read like Squeaky Hines was almost legendary. So I'll leave you guys who played with him and saw him to say how it actually was.
Fred was very special in defense, and you could not break his concentration. He was like stone, like a piece of stone running there. And then I remember in Haiti, they had a free kick. Who was it? Somebody, Honduras or somebody, when we lose a game. And they take the free kick, and Fred went like this. That's run. Ball in the back of the net, and Sellers look at him and start to curse with your big head. Or whatever. You know, so, but he would just run away and whistle. And he always whistle. Run away like that. But again, special player, you can't break his concentration. Yeah. He was always in there with it and never sway. No smile, no nothing. That was Rondon.
My battles with Lawrence Rondon started in 1966 when we were playing for St. Mary's against St. Benedict's. Lawrence was one of the defenders on the St. Benedict's team. And I thought that Rondon would fall for some of the tricks that I had. One of the things I prided myself in was running off the ball and running blindside, especially diagonals in and around the edge of the box. And every diagonal that I was making, he wouldn't fall for it. After seeing the first one, he would just fall back, and I would then have to run in front of him because you cannot run blindside of him. He was excellent with his head. I was decent with my head, but he was excellent and towered over you with his head. And as Steve said, he was unfluffable. And every time you thought you could get around him, he would take the ball away from you and then whistle. And whistle afterwards. And you couldn't get at it. Yeah. So I had 2 years against him in college playing against him. He then went on to the national team. And again, when we came back from the Howard University team, he has Rondon again, and I am playing forward up against him. And Fred, in my opinion, in that period of the late 60s and early 70s, has to be one of the best defenders that played for Trinidad and Tobago. He could play at wing back, at right back, and he could play central defense. And he and Selwyn Merrin and Cyrus Figaro, those are some of the names that I would put as some of the top defenders in that era. And Rondon, we're going to miss you because your personality and the way you carried yourself, coaching Carrie Pachima in the later years and assisting people with their football game, we're really going to miss you.
Yes, and Clayton, he had temperament just like you on the field. Okay. You guys, now I realize, similar temperament, just solid, and you can sway. Narada, I'll let you take on Raymond Roberts. You heard about him? Or you know anything about him?
But didn't meet him.
Huh?
I said didn't meet him.
Never met him, don't know anything.
Just read two things on him.
Poor little thing.
I know.
You young boys haven't met.
I didn't have the pleasure. I really didn't.
All right, anybody, we have about 3 minutes left, guys. Anybody want to say something about Raymond?
I just remember a story that Edgar gave us with Raymond Roberts. They were playing a game, Trinidad was playing a game, and they got a free kick, and Ray was on the bench, and he actually made a substitution to bring Ray on to take the free kick, which he subsequently scored. That says all about him. His reputation was built on kicking the ball like a mule.
Right. There was a North-South, he scored. Next North-South scored again, free kick, same spot. We took him to Haiti, though, for free kicks. Well, he was in the starting lineup, but he was specialist for the free kicks, especially. He was up front with Misal and Archie. Free kick, Ray kind of hit it as he just hopped to the goal. And then Gali says, when the next free kick comes and he lines up in front of Gali, say, hey, move. And Gali took them after that. But Raymond was special with his free kicks. That's how everybody remember him. He was so special. What do you think, Alvin?
Yes, he was a good forward, but people remember only his kicking ability. But Ray himself he was smart about the game. He knew the game, and the people down in the Santa Flora and Palo Seco area will have him as one of the top players who came from that area over a long period of time. I think he truly deserved his spot on the national team at that time to go to Haiti. There were many others competing at the time, but I think he deserved this spot, not only because of his kicking prowess, but because of the other factors as a forward that he had.
Yeah, and he was another red man. We were.
Carpet was not the last one.
Carpet was not, but Raymond, Carpet, then Larry. It's a bunch of last of the red men, and so on. All right, anything special anybody wants to say? I have 1 minute.
Yeah, I just want to wrap up quickly because I just wanted to say rest in peace to Squeaky Hines, because I had spoken about him and I had the pleasure of meeting him a little before his passing, where he actually introduced himself to me. This wasn't even me going to him, and he said that he watches the program all the time. So for me, it was really a pleasure, because it was somebody that I read of so many years, and to see him in his latter ages, I think 90s or so, to come and say that he watches the program and he respects all of our opinions, and was pleased to see that, a younger person dealing with the guys. That would be my memory of him.
Okay, thank you, Squeaky, for saying that. Thank you, ACTN, for giving us the opportunity to bring the show to our viewers. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in every Monday night. And we do repeat on a Tuesday at 1 o'clock. We have a Facebook page. You can check us out. We have an email address, fieldersdreamstt@gmail.com. You can drop us a line. Special thanks to you guys for bringing memories back and talking about these guys. We'll miss you guys so much. Guys, rest in peace, and we'll see you when we get there. The show is ended. Go in peace. I'll see you next Monday night. Good night.